Hello, I'm Lara. Today we are going to interview a distinguished professor of entrepreneurship. He teaches creativity, innovation, and design. He has produced 35 referees journal articles. His research has been reported in many international media outlets such as ABC, NBC, CNN, and the Associated Press. He is a board member of many management professional organizations for small business and entrepreneurship. Michael Goldsby, good afternoon.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
So, who is Michael Goldsby, the innovation guru?
Well, I guess I'm definitely an innovation enthusiast for sure. I love innovation, and to me, innovation, the people who can do things that change the world, is the start of anything good. It starts with innovation.
Yes. So, innovation, creativity are the main things now. So, before going through my questions about the entrepreneurship ecosystem, can you tell us more about the entrepreneurial kit that you're doing on YouTube?
Sure, yeah. So there's a series known as the Great Courses,
Yeah.
and they actually scout, and I had to audition for this program, and there's some pretty famous professors I'm honored to be a part of the series with, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Robert Sapolsky and others who are well-known professors. And I got the chance to do the Entrepreneur's Toolkit to teach people the basics and fundamentals of entrepreneurship to an international audience.
Great idea, by the way. What do you think makes an entrepreneurial ecosystem successful?
Well, there's a few things that make it successful. The most successful is it's a combination of driven, innovative, smart, talented people who are working in a supportive environment. And there are different things that can support that environment. One thing is government has to not over-regulate the business, because if they put too many laws and regulations on the business, it's hard for them to do business.
Yeah.
The other thing is that with that, we find that governments and communities that allow entrepreneurs to do their thing without too much interference seems to help quite a bit too. And then within that, a good educational system that can create the greater talent that the entrepreneur needs to help them work for them and inside that business. So if you've got the talented, innovative, ambitious entrepreneur working in a supportive environment, and a lot of people that are capable of doing good things for them, then you're going to have really good outcomes.
So do you believe that the government should always stay away from entrepreneurs?
Maybe not totally, but they should, for the most part, yes. For the most part, they should stay away. Okay. And also what we find is that the market left, entrepreneurs will find opportunities all around the world. When there's an opportunity to do something, people will find better ways to do it. And usually starting out small and figuring it out will lead to something better than when it's done on a large scale through some type of central planning that oftentimes doesn't turn out the way, due to politics and other things, the way that we would expect. So we need a government that provides a certain degree of rules, regulations, infrastructure, but we don't want one that's too involved in the business climate.
Yes, that's what we want also. We wish to have in Lebanon.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think are the key traits of a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's actually there's a measure for this called entrepreneurial orientation. How oriented is somebody to entrepreneurship? And there's three things that I think really do speak to what makes a good entrepreneur. One is that they're innovative, so they find new ways of doing things that people like. And the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship and an economy that's open to a lot of business is that when somebody comes up with a better way to do something, older companies will oftentimes go out of business. But the customer gets a better product in the long run, right? So that's good. So innovation really is a strong hallmark. Another thing is that they're proactive, and so what that means is that they get things done. They move things along. They may not have it all figured out, they take action.
Yes. So they do what they say.
They do what they say, exactly. And that's really the magic combination is people who can innovate and also execute. People who can innovate and make things happen.
Great answer. So what makes you believe in a business idea?
Well, I think what makes me believe in a business idea is a few things. One is that the idea is based on knowledge. Mm-hmm. So the person understands what they're going into. They may not have it totally figured out, but they have some background knowledge on the industry or the market they're going into. The other thing is that they find a new way of delivering something better that others haven't seen before. And I think it makes a good business idea. And the other thing is that it has a future, that it's one that can have a reasonable window of sustainability where ideally over the long run it can scale into something larger, into something beyond the entrepreneur. And so when we see those combinations along with an entrepreneur who really has their act together, who really is very creative and productive, then that's something we're going to take a look at.
So should they use the technology, do you think, in their idea in order to have a great idea or a booming idea, or no, they can do a great business idea without the technology? What do you think about the technology nowadays?
Well, technology is always a great source of new ideas. It's always technology can be used to improve the way business is done. But I don't think you have to have technology. I think somebody who can deliver great service can have a wonderful business, and somebody who can get others to learn how to do that service. Yeah. So you could be you could have a restaurant or a hotel or a other type of service like a home business, and if you have phenomenal service, if you really think about making the customer happy, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of technology, but you can use a lot of effort to build a great business. Yeah,
great. So it's about also the personality of the entrepreneurs. So being an ex-head of the Entrepreneurship Center at Ball State University, so what role can academic institutions play in order to spread the entrepreneurship spirit in the community?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that maybe don't realize that they are entrepreneurial. And I don't know that everyone is going to be an entrepreneur, or I don't know that everybody should be an entrepreneur. But I think oftentimes there's people who have an entrepreneurial spirit and they don't realize it, and they take a course in entrepreneurship or they learn more about economics, and they realize that, I mean, I did that. The thing that turned me into a business major was an economics course that I said, wow, this makes a lot of sense. And so same thing can happen in entrepreneurship. So somebody who business lines up with the way they think, and it ends up being a vehicle that they realize that they can use their talents to serve others by delivering something that can make the world better and make people happier, and so make people's lives easier. And so I think that's what an entrepreneurship program can do. Somebody can be. I've had students who were music majors who ended up starting businesses. Right.
So in Lebanon, we are now seeing more of our students that are pursuing their education, but they are doing their own businesses aside. So and we are seeing also many of them with successful stories. So what are your advice to these students, to those students, to their parents, and to their universities?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my advice to those students is we should encourage them, but we should also, to the students, I would say, really try to learn from the people older than you, the seniors. Get mentors, learn from people who have done it. When I was younger, I wasn't always the best at taking advice, and I've gotten a lot better at that. But I think it's a very efficient path
to have mentors around them.
Very much so. And it doesn't mean that you have to do what they tell you to do. But you'd be surprised that if a younger person goes and asks an older person, or if they just get around an industry or business and ask to learn, a lot of times older people are very honored and want to help that person. They want to help somebody else become how they've had success and
so
pass it forward.
They don't have to shy to ask. So they have to ask older people and get from them the advices. So what about their parents?
Yeah, the parents. I think the parents need to be patient. It may take a while for the person to find what they really want to do. But I think once somebody finds that thing which is authentic for them, that they really get excited about, then I think that's the thing that inspires anyone to become their best self. And so if somebody has an idea that they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to be a business person, the parents may need to be a little patient with them until they find that industry that really clicks. But once they do that in the long run, I think that they'll be much happier. I know that what I've seen is that a lot of parents of entrepreneurs, in 10, 20 years after they've built a successful business, their parents have become very proud of them, but they may have not been quite as proud at the beginning. So there just needs to be a little patience.
Yes. But in Lebanon, we saw that most of the parents, they are pushing their the kids to be an employee and not a self-employed or an employer, because it's more safe to be an employee, having a salary at the end of the month, more security, healthcare, etc. So they are as a barrier for them, and they don't push them to go to be an entrepreneur. So do you think that you have this problem here for the parents, what they are doing, what they are advising their kids to go for, to be an employee or for entrepreneur, to be an entrepreneur?
Well, we have the very same situation. Same situation, yeah. And here we have students who are taking out student loans, and they want to get a job and get health benefits, and they want to pay back student loans. Now, I don't think that's a bad decision. In fact, a lot of research shows that actually most people start businesses while they're working for somebody else.
Yes.
So it's actually a pretty smart way to go.
I think it's the smartest way, by the way.
Yeah.
To start small and having a safe job at the same time.
Exactly.
And maybe it will be... So, and for the university, what we should say for the universities to encourage these students? Should they encourage them?
Sure. They should. And again, the thing about it is that unlike a lot of areas and majors, they may not become entrepreneurs, like you said. They may get a job, and they may not be entrepreneurs for 5 to 10 years, 15 years. But one day, that dream of theirs, they want to start a business, may happen. And so there are things that we can teach about in entrepreneurship about what goes into starting a business, some of what we call the nuts and bolts, the fundamentals of what you have to have in place with human resources and legal things and aspects of that. So those are things that they can learn about, and then when the day comes they want to start a business, they're not starting from scratch, they have some knowledge.
Great. So studies show that youth in the Middle East are becoming more into entrepreneurship and into innovation more than ever. So what plans, activities, or initiatives should the business ecosystem design to keep this momentum?
That's great. Well, I think the people who have been successful before them, if they can take roles of mentoring and teach them, let them learn from their experience what goes into business, I think that's a tremendous help. I mean, what we see a lot of in the United States is a lot of entrepreneurs come from family businesses, so they grew up with that type of knowledge. Not everyone gets that type of opportunity to learn as a young person from their parents. So I think if business people and entrepreneurs will help out other young people they don't necessarily know that aren't family, that can go a long ways to help boost a system.
What about the financial support? Do you think we should have more venture capital firms? What should they do in order to, because as you know, entrepreneurs need money. Need money at the end. So what about this issue?
Well, the research tends to show that you see it both ways. Some say that venture capital and financing is located in certain spots, but there's some other studies that show that believe that money will follow good ideas. If there's a really good idea and the person really has a good start to the business, that money will find them. So I do think that that's where people who are successful in those communities, if they're taking an active role to mentor others and not just staying back, you know, on their own, that can be a big boost. But the other thing is this, really, the key thing that really drives entrepreneurial activity is a big part of it is education.
Yeah.
Right. So educated people who then are mentored on certain behaviors of really going after things. That's where you're going to see more. Really, it's just more investment opportunities because there's going to be talent there that you want to put money into.
So international NGOs, venture capital firms, and many of funding agencies are pushing forward to adopt the concept of social entrepreneurship. So what do you think about this concept and its future?
Well, you know, the idea of social entrepreneurship is that it's organizations that step in where either traditional businesses or the government are not addressing problems that people care about. So, I mean, there is something to be said for people tackling a social concern with a business approach, and I think that's good. I mean, taking a business-minded approach with the same type of discipline that you would if it was a for-profit business can be good. Or if you're a for-profit business and you use a lot of the funds to that cause, I mean, you build a brand and customers come to support that cause. That can be good as well. Personally, I think some of the people that make the biggest impact on society are those that go the traditional route of business, make a big fortune, and then make big donations and support others, right? So it's all those things. But I think somebody like Bill Gates, who has a foundation now addressing world problems and having a tremendous impact in places like Africa, because he had previously made a fortune. So there's a place for all those approaches. What's great about social entrepreneurs is that they do have that commitment to the cause, but the biggest thing that they have to do is be really good at marketing to get others to believe in that cause.
Great. So Walt Disney was a very successful entrepreneur, and I know that you wrote a book about Walt Disney. So what can others learn from his example? Yeah,
there's so much to learn from Walt Disney. He's my entrepreneur hero.
Yeah.
Part of it is he came from a very average upbringing. He basically came from a little farm in the middle of this country, very modest upbringing, and he just had a tenacious drive to pursue his dreams, and it wasn't easy. Walt Disney had people betrayed him. He went bankrupt a number of times, but he just kept pressing forward with his ideas. And the reason he was able to accomplish so much is that he was always talking in very optimistic terms about what he was going to create, and others wanted to be a part of that journey. And whatever it was Walt did, he was able to get others excited about the idea. And that's what entrepreneurs have to do. They have to get others excited to help them build it, because Walt knew that he could never build a great company just doing it by himself.
So great. We're so happy.
Thank you.
It was a great pleasure to have this interview with you.
Thanks.
So thanks a lot.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.